Hi everyone, today is a cooking day. I decided to get busy and do a lot of recipes. So I'm going to do one at a time for each video. I'm going to start off with a marinara sauce, or what some people call tomato sauce. Some people call tomato gravy. Now, what I do is now here in Texas it's very hard to get some ingredients, and also for storage and everything like that I use dry ingredients. And what I do is I start off by showing you what's going to go in. I'm not going to add it into the pot yet, because what I have to do is, now usually I never use measuring cups or anything like that. I use my hand to do measurement. Now I'm going to be using 3 cans of Italian imported tomatoes. They're 28 ounces each. So you may think that this is a lot of ingredients, but you have to remember I'm doing 3 cans, large cans. So what I'm going to do is I usually take my hand like this for the oregano, and that comes out to approximately 1/4 cup, a little bit less. So we'll do 1/4 cup, okay, like that. And then I put basil in. Basil, I find a little bit stronger than oregano, and I'm going to do less than 1/4 cup. It's probably more like an 1/8 cup of basil. And then parsley, I usually go a little bit heavier on the parsley. So there I am with the hand again, because that's how I do it. You know, a lot of chefs, they don't use measuring cups when they do a recipe. I usually do about double on the parsley. Okay, so that's it. Now I set aside the. Now we can add in some salt here, but I also put some salt in the in with the onions. It helps to sweat out the onions. So I'm going to put it in about a teaspoon. Now I'm using iodized salt. Now you have to be careful with iodized salt. It's stronger than kosher salt. I use kosher salt in a lot of my cooking. Now I put that aside, and let's see, some black pepper. Black pepper, we're going to use about a 1/2 teaspoon. Now you can, like I always say about seasoning, you can always add in, but you can't take out. So I put in a 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper. I had ground this earlier. I ground my own peppercorns. Now I set that aside. Now I start off with the garlic. I happen to like a lot of garlic in mine. So what I do is I start off with some garlic. Okay, go off here. Now how I peel the garlic, now some people may find it hard peeling garlic. What I do is I break it up like so. Okay, whoops. Yeah. It's okay, the peel is still on. Okay. Now, what I do is I cut off the ends and place it in a bowl. Okay? Just cut off one end. Now, we buy a lot of garlic, and so we have a lot here, and it's already dry, so the peel is coming away pretty good here. We do that. Then I'm going to show you how I peel the garlic. Like that. Like that. Because a lot of people, what they do is they take the garlic and they bash it. Okay? Well, I don't like bashing. I like doing my method. Now, I wasn't the one that invented this method. This is something that someone has done before that I've seen, and I'm just copying. I cannot take credit for someone else, but you know, you learn by watching other people. My mother was a very good cook. She used to make this. I mean, she made it her way. I do it my way. Some of these cloves are very tiny, and they're not really worthwhile cutting. With the like really tiny ones, I just throw them away. Now, what I do here, some still have the peel on it. So what I do is I take a bowl and I shake it. You shake it very hard. And what happens is the peel comes off. So, we have the peel off. So now I just take the garlic and throw it in, because it's all peeled, and leave the peel in there. Like that. I'm trying to work as fast as I can here. You know, people are very impatient when they watch videos and everything like that. So, I understand. I skip around when I watch videos. Sometimes they're too long. Okay. So, that takes care of that. It's all peeled. Okay? And we can get rid of the peel of the garlic. Next, I'm using 2 large onions. Now, some people may say that's a lot of onion, but I like onion. It adds sweetness to the sauce. And let me just wipe this off. So you cut off the ends. Now, it's good to have a sharp knife when you do onions, because you don't want to tear too much. Now, sometimes what I do too, if I'm cutting up onions finely, is I'll run water in the sink and I'll put the whole onions in and keep it there so I don't tear. And by running it with water, you can prevent tearing. Now, some people, what they do with onions too, if they want to prevent tearing, is they put it in the refrigerator. When you chill them, it prevents the tearing. I can tell that these are strong. I can feel it in my eyes. So I'm trying to work as fast as I can, and hopefully I won't be crying by the end of this. Now, I don't have to chop it up too small. That's it. Just like that. Just like that. Oh boy. I'm working with one eye. Now you can tell that the knife is very sharp. I have a sharpener to do sharpen the knives, and I put it in the pot like that. Now I always do it this way because I'm gonna throw in the garlic after this wilts a little. I'm gonna put a little oil in the bottom, probably about 2 tablespoons. Like I said, I don't measure things. Now I put it on the oven. Now I'm gonna use kosher salt. I'm going to use kosher salt to sprinkle over the top of the onions. I have it on high heat. That's another reason why I do the prep work. It's because this goes very fast. So I grab a wooden spoon, stir that around a little bit. Okay. Now, the next thing I'll do is I'll chop up the garlic. And you get the idea. So this is what you do. And I'll get back to you. So once I'm ready to add this in, I'll show you how to add it in. Okay, now after about, I would say 4 minutes, the onions are starting to turn translucent. Okay, it's getting going. Now I add in the garlic. I don't put in the garlic in the beginning because if you burn garlic, your sauce is going to be very bitter. So never add garlic. A lot of people, they'll put in the garlic, they fry it, it turns dark brown, and they wonder why it tastes funny. It's because they're overcooking the garlic. Don't overcook your garlic. Just put it in, let it cook, because this sauce is going to cook for a while. So that's it for the garlic. Okay? Okay, now the onions have been cooking some more with the garlic, so it's caramelized. Now what I'm going to do is add in the dry ingredients. So I pour that in, and I use a cup, and then another cup of white wine. Now, I use so much wine because I'm using dry ingredients. If you're using fresh ingredients, use less wine. I'm using this to reconstitute the dry ingredients. So, you have to do that. Now, I let this cook for a while, and I'm using Pinot Grigio, which is a white wine that's more on the citrus side of wines, of white wines. Excuse me. Now, you can use other white wines, but I find them overpowering with the fruitiness of the flavor. So I really like cooking with Pinot Grigio because it's not overpowering the citrus flavor. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to add in tomato paste. Tomato paste, for me, it adds in sweetness. I use Cento, which is an imported Italian tomato paste. It's very good quality. One thing I like to cook with is quality products. Tomatoes in the United States haven't been good since the 1970s. Because everything today is GMO modified, and tomatoes today don't taste like they were 40 years ago. There's a big difference in flavor. I wish that the young people today could taste a tomato from 40 years ago. They were actually sweet, juicy, thin skin. Okay, you don't get that anymore with the tomatoes. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here. I'm going to open the last can of, now this is all imported from Italy. The Italians still have tomatoes that are halfway decent, that haven't been destroyed by the scientists in this country. Everything today is because they want to harvest tomatoes with a machine. Back in the old days, it was impossible to harvest a tomato with a machine because of the skin was thin. That's why the skins are so thick today. Now, I gotta pour in the tomatoes. Pour that in. Now, I make a lot of sauce. What I use this sauce for is I can use it for pasta. I can thicken it up a little so it can be used for making pizzas, which I do. That's one of the things I'm going to do a separate video on, is me making the dough for pasta. Now I'm going to rinse out the cans a little with some water. Just swirl it around. Swirl it around. And what you do is you can go back and forth like that to get all the tomato out. And I don't want to waste anything. Okay, and that's it. Now, I let this cook, and I let this cook down, and then when it's cooked, what I'll do is I'll take an immersion blender and I'll cut it up. Now, some people, what they'll do with the tomatoes, okay, is they crush them by hand and they leave them chunky. I like my sauce more of a puree, so I can use it for other things. But you can make it the way you like it. One recipe can be your own recipe. Anyway, I'll get back to you after when I show you how to do the immersion blender. Thank you. Okay, now the sauce has been cooking for a couple hours now, and what I'm going to do is use an immersion blender, okay, to grind it up, and I put it in the sink because it can get messy sometimes. But now this is what I do. Put it in here. Now all you do is you move the immersion blender around and cut it up to where you want it. Now you could put this in a blender or whatever, but this is how I do it. What I'm looking for is puree. What I did when I was cooking is I mashed the tomatoes up. They're very firm when you put them in at first. So this is what I'm looking for. If you can see it, the consistency. And what I'll do is I'll put that back on the stove. It doesn't need any more cooking than what it is. And you can see the consistency. It's thick, but it's not runny. Okay? So this is what I'm looking for. Now I use this for pasta sauce. I use this for cooking the pizza and whatever. So this is a sauce that's very good, very tasty. Now, of course, if you want to add more salt in, add more salt. If you want to add in more pepper, add in more pepper. But for me, I'm not a salt addict. This is how I like it. I like it not on the salty side. Anyway, thank you for watching. Let me taste. Bueno.